What's up, guys? Welcome to the first episode of Kinda Funny's The Conjuring Universe Cinematic Universe in review. As always, I'm Tim Gettys, joined by the producer slash seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Boo. This movie was scarier than it should have been. I was scared watching it.
We have very special guests joining us. The returning Elise Willems.
Thank you so much.
Shut your mouth. I'm getting my intro now.
Making his debut to In Review, James Willems. How are you guys doing?
So happy to be here. When Elise was doing Lord of the Rings in review, I was often sitting just off to the side, listening and appreciating quietly,
making sure I didn't mess up.
Yeah. You didn't. But no, I'm really honored to be included, especially in this of all the
esteemed company.
The esteemed company, very esteemed company.
Yes, yes. Here's the thing with the Conjuring, the cuckoo unit. What do you call it?
We do call it the cuckoo.
We call it the cuckoo.
The Conjuring Universe Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
Exactly. We knew we had to get you guys for this based on your love for this. You know, when people think Fast and Furious, they think us. When people think the cuckoo, I think of you guys. So
and who's your connective tissue? James Wan.
That's true.
It's fantastic stuff. And also, you got to save the best for last. I'm not really sure. We have Greg Miller, I think.
That's right, Tim. There's some things worse than what you think go bump in the night, and I'm Greg Miller, and I'm here, and I'm prepared to make this sacrifice, this blood sacrifice. Right now.
King.
We finally got what we wanted: a horror movie in review, a cinematic horror movie universe in review. So goodbye, Portillo.
Greg, you look a little pale. Are you feeling okay?
Well, you know, I don't know if you know this about me, Elise. I love a good horror flick. And so for a lot of these phonies, they show up, Tim and Nick, you know, they'll pop in their quarter and they'll go watch any old action flick, all right? I'm going to pop in my quarter and I'm going to go watch a great, scary movie. And so it was about time to show the real me here. Let my horror side out. You know what I mean? Let the demon inside out. For a long time, I've talked about Satan. Yeah, that's right. We're friends. He helped me win Nidhogg. I see him when I drink a Busan coffee. Speaking of which, let me have a sip from my cauldron.
Busan.
Man,
you just snort something?
I have one question, Greg.
Yeah,
what does all of what you just said have to do with you getting beat up by the NWO?
I'll tell you what, that Kevin Nash, he has it coming. And Bash at the Beach, he's going to have another whole world of pain on his shoulders.
What I like a lot about Greg is his commitment to the role. Now, if we were back in the studio, we would just open on Tim, and then we would cut to a shot of James and Elise, and then me as we were being introduced, and then finally it would be a grand reveal of Greg and the makeup. But no, Greg sat there for 5 minutes, stone cold. I don't even think he blinked and waited.
That's a great point too. If you're an audio listener, I'm wearing makeup. None of this makes sense.
Right.
that is very good. I also appreciate your casual rock cosplay going on.
Like that? I thought about it. You get the beanbag in there, or the
beanbag, daddy bag.
Yeah.
God, what are we doing here? We're doing a horror movie in review series. This is very exciting stuff. Very different from anything that we've ever done before, but in line with it because we love cinematic universes here at Kinda Funny. Each and every week right here on twitch.tv/kindafunnygames, we rank and review various movie franchises. Every Monday from here on out, we're going to be doing Batman in review. And every Thursday, we're going to be doing the Conjuring Universe, Cinematic Universe in review. Cuckoo
in review.
Exactly. You can watch it live on Twitch, or you can watch it later on youtube.com/kindafunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to listen to it, just search your favorite podcast service for Kinda Funny Reviews. We'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free, patreon.com/kindafunny is where you want to be. Just like Muhammad and Al Tribesman, our Patreon producers that we appreciate oh so very, very much. Now, Nick, I'm excited to have you here because you, I think, are the least horror interested than any of us.
That's true. That's true. Although this movie actually got me because, and I mean this endearingly, it is a blatant ripoff of Poltergeist. And I love Poltergeist. It's been on my Netflix queue ever since they got it on back 2 months ago. And I've been trying to subtly get my wife to watch it with me because I'm too scared to watch it myself. Tim, I tried my damnedest to get out of this one because Andy is a small child who can't even sleep with the light off, let alone be a part of this series. I had to step in, of course, fill his shoes. Not that hard. It's like filling fucking toddler shoes. But I enjoyed these. And I love that there is just an unabashed world building from the get-go. Like, James Wan was just like, I'm going to force this into being a cinematic universe. The first part of the movie, I thought it was about the doll. I was like, oh, it's about Annabelle. But then I was like, wait a minute. Annabelle. Isn't Annabelle a movie series all to its own? And I guess that is, we'll just have to wait and see.
No future spoilers, but we haven't seen the last of that doll.
They don't call it a universe for nothing.
They sure don't.
So getting into this, the films present a dramatization of the supposed real-life cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren, paranormal investigators and authors associated with prominent yet controversial cases of haunting. The main series follows their attempts to assist people who find themselves possessed by demonic spirits, while the spin-off films focus on the origins of some of the entities that the Warrens have encountered. All 8 of the Conjuring universe takes place between 1952 and 1981. So, Nick, that's something that we're going to have to keep in consideration as these movies continue to go on. All right.
And it's great because Nick was alive during that time. So that's why I'm just kidding, Nick. I'm old too.
No, parts of it I remember.
Nick, when the milkman brought you the newspaper in 1958, do you remember hearing about Ed and Lorraine?
The Crow got some heat.
Just a little bit of that heat.
But a lot of people are asking where Andy is. Barrett, if you could please play the pre-recorded video from Andy, I would really appreciate that.
Hey, what's up? It's me, Andy from Kinda Funny. Sorry I couldn't be there for Conjuring review this week. I'm flying out to Austin, Texas for RTX for the Rooster Teeth Convention Expo. So I couldn't be there, but I would have loved to have been there and watched this movie. So for my segment, I'm just going to go ahead and look at the Wikipedia page for this movie and pick out what I think might be a really scary moment. There's a lot of freaky things based on this plot synopsis. A lot of freaky stuff happening in this movie. But I'm going to go ahead and say the part where Bathsheba vomits blood into a woman's mouth, Carolyn's mouth, that sounds really bad. And I'm glad I didn't have to watch that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have fun with the rest of the review. I'll see you next week.
Andy, you scared little bitch.
I'm a little confused because he said he was headed to Austin,
for
Texas,
the Rooster Teeth Expo.
For Rooster Teeth Expo, which is happening, but it's happening
online.
Virtually. Yeah, it's all online. So I don't know why he would need to do that.
When your life is as horrific as Andy Cortez's is, you don't need to watch a horror movie.
Cortez's
like that. I nailed it. All the apostrophes in the right place. Don't talk to me. I have a witch.
That was very impressive.
As much as I wanted Andy in this, we were watching the movie, and I thought to myself, "There's no way he could fucking."
I said that to you.
No,
I turned to you because I had texted when you approached us about doing it. I started texting Andy and trying to bully him into participating.
As one does.
Andy, who is normally a pushover, refused profusely, and I've never seen him put his tiny foot down so hard.
He's so small.
The fact that he read the Wikipedia, I'll give it to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's scary enough for our little Andy boy. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about The Conjuring. Before we get into it, what is your guys' history with the Conjuring universe? Greg.
Hi, it's me, Greg, worshiper of Satan. Yeah, I went and saw. I love horror movies. Like it's I think that's when we talk about screencast stuff and all that stuff, right? I usually come on for the superhero stuff. I usually stay away from everything else except horror movies, and I just don't think we have that giant following in terms of internally people who love horror like the way I do, and Jen does for that matter too. So Conjuring, I went and saw day and date in theaters. I don't know if I was opening weekend for sure, and I fucking loved it. And so every Conjuring movie in the universe, everything in the
crazy.
and I've watched all of it. And Jen loves horror, and we have Shudder, and I don't know if you ever want to get a free trial for Shudder, Nick. They have a thing called Cursed Films, and they talk about both. There's an episode of
Cursed Films is great.
Very cool.
Really good. So yeah,
I did not know that, Greg.
I love it all, yeah.
I knew you loved it, but I didn't know you So you've seen all the Annabelles, The Nun,
Mhm.
Curse of La Llorona.
I saw La Llorona, and I saw the other one on Shudder. That's a completely different one, but has the same name, but it didn't matter.
Wow, that is insane. James and Elise, what about you guys?
I mean, pretty similar. We both really like watching horror movies, especially like around spooky times of year, like Halloween and stuff. We're both a big fan of. But like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we saw this one opening weekend or around then. I know that I saw it in theaters.
Yeah, I'm a big horror person. I think it's like one of my favorite genres, and like saw Blair Witch when I was 14 opening weekend because I read about it in the newspaper. That's sort of where I'm at. So like, yeah, we pretty much go see any any of the movies in this franchise.
Yeah.
And when we kind of learned that there was this connective tissue, this universe that was being expanded and built upon, it blew our minds because, you know, you have your horror franchises that run, you know, upwards of sometimes 10 plus films, but to build a universe with a tissue like this, I didn't really know anything like it.
And I'll say, you know, obviously we're going to go through all of them, so we'll hear in more detail everything. But like, it's the kind when I first heard, oh, they're doing an Annabelle, they're doing a Nun, it felt like cashing in on something that isn't necessarily a part of it. But then after you've seen a couple of them, you're like, oh no, some of these are like pretty good. Like these stand on their own without necessarily having to be.
The two Conjurings specifically have no right to be as good as they are.
Oh, they're great. Yeah, fantastic.
So good.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm excited about because I am a huge horror fan as well. And I watch a lot of horror movies, and Conjuring 1 and 2 are two of my favorites. But I actually haven't seen any of the Annabelles or the spin-off ones yet. So this is going to be a very fun time for me. Nick, am I correct in assuming you haven't seen any of these?
Zero. I think I knew Vera Farmiga was in and the dude from Watchmen's in it, but I had no idea. I didn't know it was based on a true story. For some reason, I thought this was like supposed to be in like the 1920s, and it starts off and he's got like, it's not. It's in the late 70s. And they're like, this is based on a true story. And then they go to like the doll, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be about the doll, and then it's like not about the doll, but then the doll comes back. And at one point, no shit, I was like, at the end of this movie, I'm like, if this fucking doll doesn't kill someone, I'm gonna be very disappointed. And actually wasn't disappointed.
Yay.
Yeah.
So we are talking about The Conjuring, released on July 19th, 2013. The reason that we originally were going to do this is because we're going to lead into The Conjuring 3, The Devil Made Me Do It, which was supposed to be coming out next week. But it is now rescheduled to June 4th, 2021. We'll see if it sticks that landing. The film contains no sex or nudity, little profanity, and tame but mostly bloodless violence, and brief depictions of alcohol and no smoking. Yet it received an R rating. And it received this on its scare factor alone.
Yeah, terror, right? Was it like...
That's
I mean,
so
I think that
badass.
makes sense. It makes sense because it is really like unnerving. Like the horror in this movie is pretty unsettling. And like we were saying, like what we were watching it again this weekend, and I did turn to Elise and I was like, Andy would not have been able to, like, just on how it like makes you feel. I do feel like it seems silly to age gate that kind of thing. But in this case, it does make sense.
The lack of profanity makes sense. Those Warrens are a couple of churchies. You know, there's lots of religious undertones to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that.
Yeah.
But I'm with you, right? Like, I think there's unsettling is the way to put it. And I think that's why it works so well. Because not only does it play on, and I granted, I mean, there's been so many movies since then we've seen this one, or most of us have. But like, I think there's been so many different plays on it. There's so many great things there of playing the children against each other, but then also playing off of the childhood fears, right? Where, you know, at one point where she wakes up and she can see it behind the door. She knows there's something behind the door, but her sister can't see that. And then the escalation of that, to have Bathsheba, you know, jump off the you know, she's walking into and over into the wardrobe, and then I'm like, what are you looking at? And they pan the camera up and she's up there, and it's like the first time we've gotten like on the point. Here's it is, outside of like, again, hide and clap too, when the mom's in the stairwell and it's just like from behind her. Like,
What a
the
moment.
Clapping,
The clapping is an incredible device.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we just want to jump right into it.
No, well, they have a way.
They have a way. But I will just say one thing. One of the best things about this movie is that so many of the scares are like practical. Like it could just be a dude, like a PA, like what you're saying, hiding in a closet. That like, and it doesn't jump on you. It just shows you, and then it does something scary practically, and then you're like, that's terrifying. And that's really hard to do.
When Carol knocked down into the basement, right, and she's trying to figure out what's going on, and then it's just a ball. A ball flies out from an area where we know no one is. Like, God.
Jesus.
I do think it. Go ahead. Sorry.
Go for it, Nick. Go for it, Nick.
I was gonna say I do think the film gets less scary the longer it goes on, because one of my only criticisms with it is it's just very long and they're introducing a lot of elements. And the more they come out of that environment and the more they come back in, plus they introduce a ton of characters at the end. I was a little kind of like, all right, let's just get to the end of this thing. And once, you know, it's the classic horror like third act. Once you see the monster, you're like, it's not quite as scary as it used to. Mm-hmm. And the kid's legs being pulled, that is some of the most scared I've been in a very, very long time. And shout out to her because she's in the Kissing Booth. What up? 1 and 2, both on Netflix right now. Kissing Booth and review. Tim, stop being a coward.
Nick, what about Murph? We get a nice little...
Mackenzie Foy was in this. I mean, it's a great cast. I will say my other criticism, of course, they're trying to be obviously as true to the real life events as possible, but there are a lot of daughters, and I got lost a lot of the time of who was supposed to be which and what's going on.
Stop fucking. Wear a condom. How many?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
New little girl every time. Where I'm like, I'm trying to keep it all straight. As I'm like, I got to recap this. I'm like, all right, you're April. You're Cindy. Wait, who the fuck are you? You're somehow smaller than all.
Quick question, production-wise. Does Greg sound weird to anyone else?
He does. He sounds like he's very compressed.
But I thought maybe that was part of the whole mystique of the look and everything. Can I just say, should we be surprised that this family of 17 can only afford to live in a haunted house?
He's like, sorry, I got to take another trucking job away from home. If only we could figure out how to pay for everything. And I'm like, wear a rubber or pull out.
That's the thing, man. He leaves for these trips. He goes to work for so long, and then he comes back, and they're just so horny that they're just like, we need to fuck now.
I guess so, yeah.
The next thing you know, there's popping out these damn kids.
That's
all
one of the few.
Too. Wow.
I mean, a critique of the movie, obviously, and there's it's a horror movie, so there's a whole bunch of plot holes. But like the more like ones we can all get behind and understand is like, he's like. He takes the job in Florida, and he's like, all right, it leaves tomorrow. All right. And then he comes back, it looks like, from a long haul as all hell's breaking loose. Like, how much time just passed it? Let alone, then the Warrens go all the way back to their house, which I felt like was far away. But then they get a call from the hotel of, like, Carolyn's gone crazy. She's gone back to the house. And Ed's like, you go to the house, and I'll meet you there. And they all get there at the same time. Like, what the fuck is happening? What is the topography of this map?
Do you think they named that character Carolyn after Carol Ann from Poltergeist, because this is a blatant ripoff of Poltergeist?
It's not a true story.
I think they named it after the woman named Carolyn.
Oh, that was a real story. I love that. Maybe it was opposite. Maybe Steven Spielberg stole this from that story. It's possible that he did.
Possibly. This one was directed by James Wan. He rose to prominence as co-creator of the horror Saw film franchise, one of the highest-grossing horror franchises in the world, with a collective global box office of $976 million. He served as producer on all 8 films, in addition to directing Saw 1. Wan experienced a career resurgence with the horror films Insidious in 2010, and then later The Conjuring in 2013. Then he went on to do the Fast and Furious 7 in 2015, and he then did Aquaman in 2018. Both of those made over $1 billion. So this dude really, really good at making money.
And what does Patrick Wilson have on him? What does Patrick Wilson have that he's in like 90% of the movies you just
My question is this: what do you have against Patrick Wilson? I'm tired of it, Greg. We're having it out right now.
Oh, wait, first off, I'll let you know he's fantastic in this, and he was fantastic in Watchmen, and just Aquaman. No, thank you. All right.
Well, so he clearly got Aquaman because James Wan loves him. Mm-hmm. But the reason James Wan loves him is because he plays the neutered male protagonist so well. And basically everything he's ever in, he's basically like a pretty nice guy who can achieve great things if he didn't have his balls cut off.
There was a tweet recently someone made that said, this fucker's in everything, but he does his best to not be famous. And Patrick Wilson responded and was like, yes, I am trying.
He's great, though. I love him.
I was trying James Marsden of actors.
I was so excited for Aquaman just based on the resume of James Wan, because I thought that he was going to inject more horror elements into Aquaman, which I think maybe the second one's going to be a bit darker. But I was trying to get...
We had the trench, remember, when all the monsters were coming up and they swam down with the flare, and then Nicole Kidman showed up.
That is true. That was pretty dark. But I wanted a Aquaman. I thought it was going to be like, we're getting a real... Nick hates this. I'm going to stop.
No, I love this. I want to see where this is going, because this is what this line of questioning, ladies and gentlemen, is what gave us Gary Sinise's knees from the first time we did a Photoshop challenge together. It was great.
I just thought it was going to be a bit darker.
This had a budget of only $20 million. You got to love these horror movies. $20 million. Netting a box office of $319.5 million. The franchise has been notable for its profit, with The Conjuring and its follow-up having earned a combined profit of $260 million, according to Deadline, domestically, while Annabelle managed to make 40 times its $6.5 million budget. 40 times.
How much do I have to pay that doll?
Unbelievable.
Not that much, huh?
And film critic and box office expert Scott Mendelson of Forbes has called the franchise the first successful post-MCU. Pretty cool.
Wow.
I'm confused by that.
Interesting. Okay.
What? Yeah. Wait. First post-successful
cinematic universe.
Oh, okay.
How much? This started in 2007. We said. When was this
13.
Conjuring movie? Oh shit, sorry, my apologies,
2013.
my
That
apologies,
makes
my
sense. That
apologies.
makes sense.
And I mean, they're all micro budgets, right? So
Yeah,
they're
it
cleaning
seems
up.
like it's comparing apples to oranges, and all. I guess they're all movies, but it does seem weird, yeah, because you're
Oh, I don't
making
think-
movies that cost nothing.
But it's I guess so. But it's just how many people tried to do this. My question for you, Tim, was going to be, obviously we all remember the fucking Dark Pictures, right, or whatever they were going to call the Mummy and all that crap.
Dark Universe.
Dooku.
Dark
The
Universe.
Dooku.
Thank you.
The
Thank
Dark
you. My
Universe,
apologies.
cinematic
My
universe.
apologies. My apologies. When James Wan sits down to make the Cuckoo here, does he know he's making the Cuckoo, or is it just he's making one great movie and then everybody's like, that fucking room full of shit's awesome? Can we do things with
here's
that?
my thing, man. I kind of think it's a little bit of both. Like everything I just said about his history, it's like he did Saw, right? Like,
yeah.
Think about it. Like, remember the tagline was, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Like, Saw owned a decade of horror movies where it's like that was the flagship horror title for the 8 years or whatever that it was coming out. And then when that started to fizzle out, there was like a little bit of a gap where I think that he kind of was like, there was a couple movies he did, Dead Silence, I think it was called, and some other one like Death. One started with Dead and one started with Death. They didn't do that well. And then he put out Insidious in 2010, and then Conjuring in 2013, and Insidious as well in 2013. And I think they just kind of hedged their bets, and they saw that like, oh, Insidious was a success, and it was also a good movie. Like that franchise was fun too.
That's not in this. That's not in the Cuckoo, right?
No,
No.
that's like more sinister, Insidious, or kind of in that side of the
Exactly.
fence. This movie didn't need to have the Annabelle elements in it, which made me feel like it was like the movie could have just been about the house. You didn't really need the Warrens' room.
But what I liked is it gave him that pedigree. It
Yes.
gave him this idea of like, okay, because I think, even with, you mentioned Poltergeist, which I don't agree with, Nick, but I understand what your point is, right?
Exact same movie.
And even when the woman shows up, this house is clean. Like, her whole thing was like, all right, we're just told that she's important to this, right?
Mhm.
I thought it was cool with the Warrens that they established them as, here's the Annabelle case, here's us presenting it to a class, here's us in the newspaper, like, we have this history, and then even later on
the
in the movie where
Frenchman too.
Yeah, the
there.
Frenchman. You're right. And in the movie where they go out and they actually just debunk one rather than show up, and it is a ghost as well, right? They're like, oh, well, these boards would move if the wind came this way and it would hit the pipes. And he's like, oh, it's not haunted. It rarely is. Like,
So I agree with you, but I feel like they could have set all that up with two scenes. They could have had them at the just presenting and have there be skeptics who are like, we don't believe what you're saying, and then have there be a moment with the daughter, which I thought was a good scene, where the daughter's just like, he could have just come home and found the daughter in the room, but like, you got to stay the hell out of this room. These are very, very dangerous. We talked about this. And then as the door shuts, we see a glimmer of just Annabelle in the background amongst all these things.
Right.
That would have set that up for me enough. There's 20 minutes of this movie that is literally setting up for other movies that doesn't need to be in this. And to me, it's a little bit to the detriment, because again, after 2 hours and 15 minutes, I did get a little bit bored. I wanted them to get to the resolution and start getting to some of these
The
things. but instead,
runtime's an hour and 52 minutes.
what the? Oh, I'm thinking. Sorry, I watched Wind Rises also yesterday, which was 2 hours and 14 minutes.
Basically the same movie.
It's entirely the same, both interesting. But I think that they could have shaved off. I'm not talking about a lot. I'm just saying we didn't need. They did a really, really good job of making, because they go back to the class at one point too. I'm like, why are we back in this class? Why? We've already seen the class. We already know they teach these classes. He's talking to another guy,
because
and it's
Carolyn
just like,
was coming.
Yeah, that's how she finds them.
Inserting the other newspaper reporter in there was an interesting thing. There's then the wrinkle to it, right, where he's like, I think he's going to be positive. She's like, oh, that's nice for a change. Like, they're setting it, not that it pays off anywhere, but like, it is also establishing that in the universe, in reality or whatever, they're not all looked at like, oh, these guys aren't just kooks, right? Like, they are crazy.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, we didn't need that, because we as the audience can see the things that are really happening. And so a little bit of that, we don't need to prove or disprove that Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga are legit, because we know as the audience that there's supernatural shit happening. We see it. And so I think a little bit of less of that would have been fine. And we didn't need to start. It's weird to start with a whole other story and then never go back to Annabelle except for like once or twice.
I think
I was a little confused by that at the end.
I think it makes sense.
Bathsheba and her, yeah, they're in on it. They're cahooting,
when you think of it as an intentional choice to go, if this works out, then
Retroactively, this is going to be awesome.
this is going to work out really well,
Oh.
because then we're going to be able to make them forever, kind of thing. Like,
I
and it does-
totally get that,
because-
and I think
Yeah.
that he definitely made that positive choice where he was
Yeah.
like, I have a vision for this, and this is what this is going to be. But as a person who, if I didn't know there were more movies coming in this, I would be right at the get go. I'd be like, I don't like this. This is weird. I don't know why we've just totally changed stories. 10 minutes into this movie, the Annabelle shit was working. I was fucking terrified of that, and then we never go back to it. But I mean, I totally get your point. Like, he's smart. He set this whole thing up, and obviously it worked, because he's making movies and I'm filming in a fucking closet.
See, my
I
thing,
think
my thing
you got
about
what you
that,
deserve. You got
that
what you
I,
deserve.
what I really appreciate about The Conjuring is, again, as a horror fan, and one of my best friends, James Burke, loves just horror in general, no matter how bad it is. So I've been dragged to so many horrible horror movies, like the Poltergeist reboot that was atrocious. Like
I didn't hate it. But
really, I hated it so much.
Was that Sam Rockwell?
Sam Rockwell, yeah.
Yeah, there's good things about it, but my God. But my thing, I remember in 2013 watching this movie and being so pleasantly surprised that I was actually scared by a horror movie for the first time in what felt like forever. Like Saw is a horror franchise. It was never scary. It was fucked up. You know, like this kind of came out of nowhere for me. And I enjoyed Insidious, but it was such a shock that it was this good, and it felt like a different type of setup than we're normally used to in these horror movies. Where I get where you're coming from, Nick, and I agree to an extent, because with any horror movie, no horror movie should be longer than an hour and a half. None, never.
Don't need it.
But I did like the Annabelle stuff, even if you just look at this one movie, because most horror movies take way too long to get to the actual scary part.
Right.
And then you're right. Once the scary thing is revealed, you're just waiting until it loses its power. Right. So it's kind of a weird balance. But I think this movie did a good job of having a great pace where the tension's constantly rising. But the Annabelle stuff in the beginning gave us some early scares that kind of were like peppered in a way that like horror movies typically don't do.
It's like when you watch the trailer and they give you the teaser for the trailer you're about to watch, where they're like, "Hey, we're gonna start slow, but here's some punchy punches and guns." You're like, "All right."
It's like Mission Zero.
And don't get me wrong, I taking it in parts, I liked all the parts of this movie. I liked the Annabelle part, so I'm looking forward to those. I liked the part where it was the promise, which was the setup for all the cool stuff, the family getting there, the leg being tugged, all that stuff. And then I like the ending of it. I just feel like altogether it was just a little bit more than what we needed. But don't get me wrong, one of my favorite parts of this movie is where he like literally puts the team together and they all come to the house, and I'm like, this is awesome. This is my favorite part of Poltergeist, when they bring in the clairvoyant and they're all just camped out in the thing, and she's like, I'm gonna tell you a story really soft and it's gonna fucking terrify you, and you're like, tell me the story, let's solve this thing. Indian burial ground, whatever. I just think that maybe 10 minutes shaved off would have helped me a little bit as a new person. But don't get me wrong, dude, I'm all in.
No, I think you're right, though. I agree with you completely. Didn't need the Annabelle stuff, but then I think it better informs the universe as a whole. I'm trying to remember which movie the French milk farmer that becomes is it The Nun?
The Nun. Yeah.
We have a whole story with a French.
No future spoiler.
No future spoiler.
Sorry. I forgot.
Respect the rules here.
I respect the rules.
Some fun facts for you here. This was a really cool one for me. The film was actually shot in chronological order, which is a rarity. And
does that mean they're running around town like they're going? I assume they mean per section, because it's two movies.
Yeah. That was because of Patrick Wilson's ad-libbing. They had to shoot it like they shoot Curb because of all his quips.
Right.
Yeah.
They said it's going to come out. Maybe it changes the ending of the story completely with one thing he says.
They were saying that the reason they did that is they wanted the direction to be different as the intensity ratcheted up, but they wanted everyone to be kind of in the same kind of headspace going through, and also all the logistical shit, I'm sure. But
I got to be honest, I always think, I know that's a lot more expensive and a lot more time consuming, but I always think it actually works better for films to film chronologically, especially when you have to ramp up like something as deep as like terror. When you have to like, how scared am I supposed to be right now? And if you had to do like, imagine if I forget the actress's name, but the girl from the kissing booth. Imagine if she had to do like her first scene ever was the one where her leg gets pulled out and she freaks out and finally realizes something's happening. And then the next day, like, okay, you're not that scared though. You're just like, someone just tugs your leg and you're just annoyed with your sister because she farted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Or if you have a character that's in a slow descent of possession.
Right. You have to start at the end with Lily. I forget her name. I'm gonna bring this.
Lily
up.
Taylor.
Lily Taylor.
Me personally,
we met her at Comic-Con. We interviewed her.
Oh yeah.
Me personally, I put all the sex scenes that I have to film right up front.
Yeah, naturally.
So that I just feel like then we get it out of the way. That's when
I like
the
to
rapport
do
is the best.
It's in my contract to do the sex scenes up front and then do them again at the end, just in case.
Oh yeah, just coverage.
I lost a little weight.
Sure we got
coverage. Haven't been hitting the craft service table too much. That is
Some facts for you here. The real Perron family visited the set of the film. 8 generations of families lived and died in the house before they moved in. Andrea suggested that some of the spirits from the families never left. Deaths included 2 documented suicides, a poisoning, the rape and murder of an 11-year-old girl, 2 drownings, and the passing of 4 men who froze to death. Most deaths occurred within the Arnold family, from which Bethesda Sherman was descended.
This is not a place.
Move here.
You got to just bulldoze this. and put up a parking lot.
Listen, I can tell you, as someone trying, like when you look outside and you look into that housing market and you just see those prices going up,
Yep.
and there's that one house, and you're going, well,
It's a deal.
it's completely destroyed with smoke and fire damage, but it's 20% less than everything else on the street. Maybe this is the one.
My 28 kids and I will be very happy here.
Yeah, when you got 28 kids, you got to make those hard decisions.
Yeah. The
Shout
28
out to
kids
the-
coming from James insisting to do his sex scenes twice.
I'm
Shout
method.
out.
He's method.
What's your shout out, Greg?
Shout out to the family for moving in and just putting shit right on the walls. They're like, this thing looks like complete garbage, but we're too broke from buying it, and Dad's just a truck driver. There's 19 of us. I can't paint it. Let's just throw our
First
shit
off,
up.
I know that's the most egregious thing about this whole film, Greg, is that they have literally a built-in workforce. They have 17 daughters that could easily have just at least scraped off some of the shit on the walls, but they were like, nah, we'll just put it in there. These people are
Play the-
slobs.
yeah,
They
we'll-
all deserve to die.
We'll play the clap game instead for 45 hours a week.
The most dangerous game ever in this old haunted mansion that's got sharp edges everywhere you turn.
Wait, for reals. First
Blindfold.
off, no one should ever be playing hide and seek blindfolded.
Hide and clap.
Dude,
Hide and clap, which is
is
the
a
scariest
dope game.
version of hide and seek.
It's just, especially not on the second floor of a house. Like, come on. Like when the mom's doing it and she's just walking around banging into the banister. I'm just like,
But
you know,
I'll
this
say,
movie could have been a horror movie without any demonic presence.
Yeah.
It's just normal family life is scarier than anything else. I will say though, like to James Wan's real credit, man. A lot of these sequences really got me. When she puts on the blindfold, nothing even happens in that scene other than some sound and a couple like good camera angles. But he has a really good way of shooting these scenes where he just lets it play out, and that just adds to the tension. And a lot of directors just don't do that. I'll call your attention to It Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, which I loved those movies because I think Stephen King does a really good job of like telling these stories of these kids. But the scares in those movies just did not work because the director went for the CG big monster that's like, "Whoa, you're going to see all my teeth." In this one, we don't see that much for the first hour, and it's really scary because of course, the old adage, your imagination is way scarier than anything else you're going to show on screen. And he just does it. I was blown away by how I was like, I got to turn the light back on. I'm not going to tell anyone that tomorrow.
It's that ramping tension you're talking about in that scene with the blindfold, right? Where it is so scary to see her getting driven off course back to that wardrobe and us not knowing what's in there, right? Even though she feels it, she thinks she knows and she hears something in there, and then to pull it out, like just to be that. And I think that ultimately pays off in that first Bathsheba jumping off the thing.
Oh God, that was insane.
I also think one of the cool things about the scares in this is that it doesn't have the standard horror day-night cycle where you're safe during the day and then at night is when bad things happen, which is like sometimes can be really useful because you're like, oh, thank God I can rest. But then you see the exterior shot of the nighttime, you're like scared again. It's open season, all time of day, like in this house. And I think that's kind of cool. So you could just have her going around. And this is something that he did really well in Insidious as well, which is it's just someone doing what they do at their house on a Wednesday at 2 p.m. And it becomes terrifying with the way it's shot and the way they organize and choreograph kind of the scares. I really like that.
For sure.
Yeah, one of the
Absolutely. And it's a rarity that we see that. And I think that they do it so early in this movie. There's the moment where they all kind of leave at once outside of the house and it's daytime. And it is like, oh my God, there's no rules. You can be scared of anything. And I think this movie does a good job of introducing you to that rule set. But then also by the end of it, the scariest thing is your family. Like these kids, these small girls' mom
Must
is
be
the
a
thing that is after them. And it's like, there's nothing like worse than not trusting your sister that's sleeping next to you because she might be possessed by something. Like that is horrifying.
Again, I think they do such a great job with the Warrens of establishing the rules. Obviously, we're coming in the same way the parent family's there where we don't know anything. And so as they go through and start establishing, talking about it, even Ed has that thing where he's talking about, let me guess, comes in threes and ends by dawn, right? And we're talking about, oh yeah, you're safe at first light kind of thing. And we even get that section where Ed and Lorraine go out there and are like, we could live in the country and you want me to do laundry? And she's doing the laundry and you think everything's fine. And then it goes dark, right? And the sheet gets ripped down and goes over that, goes for 1 second, blows up to the window,
That was a
goes
crazy
away.
shot.
Bathsheba's there. And then it's like fucking on. It's like, hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, another
because
earlier
also-
scene
Let's
that.
get to the plot. Let's get to the plot here. And we
Oh, we're doing the plot still? Great.
Oh, we're doing.
Okay.
Greg Miller's doing the plot for this one, baby. Let's go.
All right.
All right. You know what I mean, guys? Unprofessional.
I mean, is this the plot? Is the plot calling? Who's he
I
calling?
think we're calling Andy, hopefully, to scare his little ass.
Well, he might be on the plane.
Andy, it's me, Greg Miller from Kind of Funny. You're live on Conjuring in Review. How are you?
I'm good. I'm just I'm about to take a
Turbulent?
flight right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I know RTX coming up. That's weird. I need they want me to do the plot, but no one here did a plot song for me, and you know I won't perform without the song. But you also, just for your own edification, I kind of look like the Crow met the Rock met Sting, if that makes any sense to you. So if you want to try to work that in there, if you want to try to work in that the plot song.
The necklace? Yeah. Oh, it's the fanny
I
pack.
don't really
The
have
Rock's
any
old.
ideas of what's bad for
high school
makeup,
photo.
but I got
Okay.
a song for you if you just want to hear it.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Roll down. Okay. There's a creepy doll. This movie is boring. It's time for the plot. Greg, tell us the story.
Thank you, Andy. You did an excellent job once again.
Bye.
Just
Ah,
technical thing that wasn't, in my opinion, a song. That was a jingle.
Yeah.
And I just, for the
Nick,
sake of
don't take James's side on that. Don't
No,
immediately flip flop on
It's-
Andy like that. All right.
Listen, we have a hard
We've
set
always
rule.
called them songs. All right.
James and
I
Elise.
don't
I'm
come
with you.
over to
I'm with you.
Funhouse. I don't come over to Funhouse and say, "Hey, you're making one of those Funhouse videos. Congratulations. Whatever you do inside of them, it's not what you call them." All right. I
I
don't
think
do
that's
that.
most-
I
definitely
think
done
that's
this.
mostly what you've done every time you've ever been on a Funhouse video.
That is true. Also, it's just important to know that James and Elise both signed the contract stating that we adhere to the Kind of Funny rules. When someone's not on camera, we talk shit about them. So that's how it goes.
I didn't read the contract, but I'm glad that
That
was in it.
Joey's just so nice.
I tried to be up the wall.
We open with Annabelle, ladies and gentlemen. This is The Conjuring, and we have 3 clowns fucking sitting on a couch. The boyfriend doesn't even say anything. It's these 2 women who live together. They're there being interviewed, as we will find out by the Warrens. They are nurses. They have a creepy ass doll. They've decided it's named Annabelle. Why? Well, weird stuff started fucking happening in the house. They had this doll there. It starts small. Arm starts moving. It's doing one of these things. It's doing the in-sync dance, dancing around the house. They're like, that's cool. But then it starts getting creepy, and they're like, you know what? We got to figure this out. So what do? They go to some broke ass medium, like in Nick's favorite movie, Poltergeist. And this
Sorry.
woman comes in and she gets duped by the ghost. What do you got?
So at first they were okay with it when it was doing the in sync dance, but after that they were like, no, we
The
can't
line,
put up with this
it keeps
anymore.
escalating, and it looks
Okay.
really creepy if you haven't looked at it. This
But
thing
at
is
first, I assume you mean the dance where they're in the. Which one is it, Tim? When they're in the toys and the packages?
It's gonna be
the-
me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be me. And so they bring in a medium. She's clown shoes, and she's like, "Oh, what it is this is Annabelle. There's a ghost in your house named Annabelle. She was a little girl. She died here." And the nurses are like, "Oh, that's okay. We're nurses and like to take care of people. So tell the spirit it's okay to live inside this doll." And the medium's like, "Got it." Tells that, and then they go, "See you later," and everything's fine for like 2 seconds, and then they come back from a night of drinking. They open the door. Annabelle's out of her room. She's laying in the hallway. She's got a crayon. She wrote "Miss Me" on a piece of paper. Then she wrote "Miss Me" all over the fucking room. This thing's creepy.
Horrifying.
One of the nurses takes her outside, throws her in a dumpster. Game over. Fucking ain't game over. Dum. They're sleeping one of the nights. I don't know the timetable. And they get the ding. They get the big old pounding on the doors. They're pounding on the front door, and they go open the front door. "Miss Me" on the ground. What the fuck? Then they hear pounding in the other door. They open it up. Annabelle, she's fucking there being creepy crawly, you know what I mean? So they hit up the Warrens, of course, #1 Ghostbusters in the New England area. And Ed's like, "You guys are a bunch of brain dead bing bongs, all right? This isn't a ghost. Annabelle never existed. And let me tell you, we are going to retcon this story quite a bit as we get into the future. Annabelle never existed, all right? This thing here is just a demon. It's a malevolent spirit. It's not a person. It's in between it. It needed to inhabit something because it wants to inhabit you. It was coming for you. Demons, they don't possess objects, they possess people, and they were gonna get you. They were gonna get up inside you, getting them guts, I think is what they call it. And so
Giving them guts.
That's
Yep,
scientific,
that's
yeah.
the
that
reference.
is what they call them. And they're like, "Oh my God." And so then it's like, boom. And then we come out of that story though into a classroom. It's the Warrens presenting, and they're like, "Hey, I'm Ed, and this is Lorraine, and we're the Warrens, and we fucking bust ghosts like this." And they tell the story of Annabelle, and then any questions, and a million hands go up, and like, "What happened to Annabelle?" And she's in a safe place now. "What do people call you?" And like, that's a weird one. But Ed's like, paranormal investigators, this, that, and the other. And Lorraine's like, "Kooks," and like, ha ha ha, and they all have a good laugh about it, right? But we'd prefer if you called us Ed and Lorraine Warren. And like it goes into that print, like that dot matrix printer of like newspaper used to be, and then we
It's like
newspaper
Snatch.
art. Fucking awesome. Great intro.
It's great. The based on a true story stuff. It's just like,
Oh,
man.
yeah. It gets you.
Because it makes you question. You're like, "Nah, I don't believe you. I don't believe you." And then as the movie goes on, you're like, "All right, I maybe kind of believe you. I believe you enough."
Sure. From there, we jump from the Warrens to the Perrins, right, who are moving into their house here. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I looked it up, but I don't know. Basically, the guy from Office Space, and then our friend Lily, who we interviewed at Comic-Con. Remember, Nick? Big deal for us. Big
Oh yeah.
Never forget. Yeah, they're moving in, and these people have like 19 fucking kids. Just don't even get attached to them. They're all interchangeable. We'll use
All
names
girls,
like,
though.
exactly. You know what I
So-
mean? I don't know what that's all about.
Easily
wanna-
I was
possessible.
saying, what are you going to do with that? Marry him off.
They're just keeping them in this house till they get a dowry for each one of them. You know what I mean? Anyways, they just bought this house, and let me tell you, Tim, I appreciate you as a business co-founder, as a collaborator, as a friend. And one of the things you often do to me is, especially when we have guests, compliment me on in review for my ability to keep these plot synopses not on the rails by any stretch of the imagination, but remember the movie and remember the important stuff.
It's
Keep you in
insane.
time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man. I thought, the long superhero movies would test us before, and I passed every test. Having a horror movie that happens in the same house, scene after scene with the same people. I want, for full disclosure, the Amazon in scene by scene thing here to do my best to keep what happened straight when it happened. And I've never done that on an in-review before, but I do want people to know that this one tested me. Because it's just all happened the same thing.
Next
I don't
time,
think we have
Greg,
to
you can
do
study a
all-
little more instead of putting makeup on for what probably took 3 to 4 hours. But you know what? Hey, it's all good. It's all good.
Think about it. Like, this pays off in the end, the makeup. You know what I mean? Think all
Yeah.
the cool gifts we're giving right now.
That's the thumbnail. Look at that right there. That's the
Wow.
You
Wow.
know what I mean?
The thumbnail is
go.
actually
You're
probably
good at
going to
moving.
be just an image from the movie with the logo.
Yeah,
the
but
banner
maybe
there.
if we send Andy a good screenshot, he'll put it in really small. He can hide me somewhere in the thumbnail. That's always a fun
Easter
game.
eggs. Greg
You know what I
Miller.
mean?
Easter Gregs.
Anyways, all right, so they're moving in. They got a bunch of kids. The oldest kid is all pissy about it. She wanted to stay in New Jersey, but the mom, Carolyn, says, "Don't worry. When she gets a boyfriend, she'll forget." And the guy from Office Space, and so they come into the house, and this is just a fucking shithole if I've ever seen one. You want to talk about tetanus, black mold, ungrounded electrical outlets. This thing's got it all, ladies and gentlemen. But they move in, and there's already a bunch of furniture there, and so they're just bopping around doing all this different stuff, right? And so the very beginning, the dog, Sadie, she won't come in. She's outside. She's just barking.
The
The
dog knows
dog
what's
in the
up.
first act. You know what I mean?
So sad. So sad.
And so that's,
R.I.P.
if you have a dog like that, you know it's going to be bad news bears, right? So everybody's running around picking their rooms. The littlest little kid, April, right? She runs outside to this big old creepy ass tree to begin with, right? She finds a toy right there. Nobody thinks this is weird that she's getting some creepy ass clown box, but nobody cares. It's a music box.
That was a fake tree. They built that tree.
Oh. I mean, it's
Where
very
did- where-
specific in its
Yeah,
imagery, so that makes sense.
Where did the suicides happen then? You said suicides happened.
That's true.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about all that, but the girl, what's her name? Siddhartha or whatever?
I don't think that was her
Sheba?
name.
Sheba.
Sarah?
Not Sheba.
Siddhartha.
Yeah, not Siddhartha. But
I don't read
anyways,
this.
she
Martha.
it wasn't like she didn't die that way. Like she wasn't from hanging. She died from some other stuff. But they're like, it's cooler in the movie if she does that. So
Bullshit.
we're gonna make
It's a
that
great visual, especially when they bring in Vera and she can actually see it. You're like,
Whoa.
Excellent.
So yeah, as we already covered, she finds the toy box out there. It's going to be creepy and introduce her to Rory, but we'll get there. On the inside of the house, the girls start playing hide and clap. They're running around playing hide and clap with the one clap, two clap, and I'm like, again, yeah, are you going to get hurt? Are you going to get a broken bone? Are you going to get stabbed with something? Sure, but I like this game, and I think there's something. It's like Marco Polo without the pool.
yeah.
And that one girl cheats. Don't forget.
Yeah, I know.
That one girl cheats. She doesn't. She's right there. Would have ended the game. They wouldn't have found the basement. Everything would have been fine. But she didn't clap when she was supposed to clap. That little girl's fault.
I feel like maybe the dog still would have died.
The mom didn't say anything. She said you're cheating, but she didn't call her out on it. You know what I mean?
Whatever.
Exactly. That's not a good way to do it, but it doesn't matter. As you're saying, though, yeah, the clap game takes them into the closet there on the first floor, to which they brawl into a wall, smash right through it. You know what I mean? It's just like Terminator 2 when
The
the
old wall
T-1000
brawl.
and the old T-800 are brawling through the walls, right? They break it. A guy from Office Space runs in like, oh, what's going on here? What's your break now?
Ron
And it's-
Livingston.
Yeah, the guy from Office Space. And so
I love that Elise just said that. Like, you should respect Ron Livingston and know his name. Stop
His storied
disrespecting
career
him.
Well, I
of
love
The Office Space and The Conjuring, and I can't remember
Band of
anything
Brothers.
else. Oh, yeah.
I love Ron
you know-
Livingston because someone decided he's timeless, but he's not.
He's not.
He exists only in the time period
90s.
of The Office Space.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he never changes his character. But they're like, you know what? what would he be like in World War II? And then boom, we get to say, what would he be like in 1971? And then it's just him. And he's like, I'm a truck driver. I'm in World War II. Like he doesn't change at all for any of it. It's great.
He goes down into the creepy ass basement, and it's a creepy ass basement, and there's a fucking piano down there and a bunch of other garbage and stuff. And at one point, the furnace is there. And he's like, yeah, it's cold up there. Yeah, I'll see if I can get this furnace to work. I'm like, wait, you bought this house not understanding where the fucking furnace was?
They didn't do an
They
inspection.
were desperate,
They do say they bought it sight unseen as a bank foreclosure. So, and also they were living out of a U-Haul truck for 14 weeks. So
I love
just fucking back it off. Okay.
I love that someone was living in that house and they're like, I wish I could stay here. I just can't afford the mortgage. And then the bank was like, we'll take it from you. And they're like, fine. It's haunted.
The real bank was the real one. So they fuck around in the basement and in the house for a little bit, and it seems like everything's gonna be great. So they decide I'll go to bed, and Sadie the dog won't shut the fuck up outside. And he's yeah. And guy from Office Space is like, man, this dog won't shut up. This fucked up. And like, yeah, she's like, that's weird. And he's like, don't worry, I chained her to a tree. And this is when, like, would you ever, Willems, would you ever just put Benson out there on a chain at night? You know what I mean?
Benson fell out of the bed last night.
Right.
So now we have to get a pool noodle to put under our sheet like he's an infant so he doesn't fall.
Yep.
So
This is the
to answer
third-
your question, no.
Yeah,
we
and so
wouldn't.
this would be the third time in as many months that he's fallen out of
Because
bed.
if we tied him to a tree around sundown, he would be dead by nightfall.
Sundown. Oh.
Okay, so from there now, we wake up. Yeah, we wake up and...
Well, you forget that they bang. They already have 18 kids, and they decide to christen the home by banging without protection.
And again, I mean, don't get me wrong. We all want to pop one inside, but it's like, come on, make some precautions. You're barely holding this together. You're
also
in over your head on this mortgage. Don't fucking do this.
Yeah. Do we feel like maybe he was just like secretly like, let's just keep going until we get a boy? That kind
Yeah,
of thing.
100%.
It was the 70s, right? This is how it was. You know what I mean?
Who's going to drive my truck? He said with no discernible accent.
It's just really
business of my truck.
It is weird. He was weird casting because it's supposed to be like because Patrick Wilson's supposed to be the star, but every time Ron Livingston was on screen, I was like, "That's Ron Livingston. Why would they?"
I don't know what to do.
Good for him.
They wake up in the morning and Carolyn's got a big old bruise on her. All the clocks are stopped at 3:07. The older girl is bitching about everything, but also the fact that there was like a horrible smell in her room. And guess what? The dog Sadie's fucking dead outside. The little girl April finds her.
Dude, again, though, that's the thing that I appreciate about this movie is we saw the dog and it immediately starts barking. You're like, oh, that dog's going to die at some point in this movie. I didn't expect it to happen 3 minutes later.
Or save the day.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of the two. It's one of the two. But for a movie that, like, when you look at it as a whole, the dog dying is like essentially the worst casualty of the entire movie. It's not like the death rate is super high on this. In fact, it's just the dog.
Yeah, I don't think anything else does. One dude gets his face bit off, but he
Brad or
seems
whatever
cool with it.
gets face painted, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I feel like there
I like
should
that.
have been an old woman that dies. You know, there's always that one old disposable old woman that they bring
like-
in.
It's like the two old people in Arachnophobia where they're eating the popcorn and then they find him dead.
I remember
Like
that.
Yes. It's like that.
John Goodman.
It's been a long
John
day,
Good.
everyone.
So the demons smell like farts, huh?
Yeah,
Pinky.
it turns out. They'll talk about that eventually. From there now, we are catching up to one of the things we already talked about. It's a reporter at the Warrens, and he's all like, oh, man, you got a bunch of weird shit in this room. And they're like, yeah, and like, he's walking around looking at all the crazy shit, and then eventually he gets to Annabelle, and he's like, oh, no, fucking Annabelle's crazy. That's why she got like 19 locks on her. She'd never come out. And he's also like, don't touch anything. And then the Warren's daughter, Judy, shows up. She wants to touch stuff. They're like, don't touch anything. We get the idea. Don't touch anything in this house, right? It's bad news bears. We spend some time here at the Warrens for a little bit. Judy's running around. Is this when they comb her hair? It doesn't matter. We're going to combine a few different Warren scenes here. They have a nice little home life is basically what's going on. However, we are given the first seeds here that something has been going on, and Ed is trying to protect Lorraine, that something bad has happened to her in recent times. She's not up to full power as he feels she should be. But I digress. We'll get to that. You know, just put it in here. There was an exorcism with the old guy, right? We were talking about before, the Quebec farmer, right, with the blood eyes
The
or
milk
whatever.
farmer, yeah.
Looked at her eyes and flipped her wig, and she just went crazy. And because he eventually tells at the Chevy when he's talking to the guy from Office Space, like, listen, every time this takes a little bit of you, but that took a big piece of her. Like, oh fuck, bitch,
Cool.
what the fuck happened? God, she saw the face of the devil. But that's what fucked her up. That's why she's like that. We go back to the house here. The haunted. We're back in bed with everybody, and this is the first time where we get the leg tug, and then the farts, and that whatever this middle of the road girl, Cindy, I believe, she's the one who starts immediately getting it. It's like, fucking stop it, and the other one's like, that's you. You smell like shit. Like, oh no, I smell like shit. But that's we're getting some nighttime craziness happening. All right. Then again, next morning, same deal. We wake up, more bruises on the mom. The birds are flying into the house. More clocks stopped. I think this is when she, either night one or this time, she tells Ron Livingston about it. Of like, hey, all the clocks stopped. He's like, that's weird. And he has some bullshit explanation for why all these clocks.
He's already starting the engine.
He goes, I'm a truck driver. That's his response to everything. She's like, I'm worried that these kids are really disturbed in this house. He goes, I'm a truck driver, and then leaves.
All seven girls have their periods.
Real quick. Greg, the issue's happening again.
Really?
It's not as bad, but it is happening again.
You want me to restart the...
Sorry, Elise, what were you saying?
I don't want to alarm anybody, but Greg referenced the Cursed Films series on Shudder, where they look through a lot of productions like The Exorcist or Poltergeist, and they talk about how these productions, there was a lot of death, or there were really strange occurrences that happened. And I'm wondering if the Greg microphone stuff could be we're dabbling in an area we shouldn't be. And this is a warning.
This is a warning. This is Bathsheba herself talking to us.
Because you sound great now.
Yeah, that's how it keeps going when I restart it. I don't know
why.
Yeah,
so we'll see. We can just keep going now. But we should look into this later, for sure.
They're ads.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is brought to you by Manscaped. Here's the thing. Beluga, did you hear that? That's your moose asking for Manscaped. They wrote that. I don't really understand what it means. But what I do know is that you need to Manscape. You need to fix whatever bush situation is going on down below. The Manscaped engineering team just perfected the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created, the Lawnmower 3.0. I recently used this thing, and I can tell you, I love it. I didn't nick any nuts. I'm just looking real nice and clean down there. Plus, for a limited time, when you order the Perfect Package Kit, you get 2 free gifts, the Shed Travel Bag and the Manscaped Anti-Chafing Boxer Briefs. You're not trying to chafe down there. Trust me, that's not a good time for anybody. The waistband's super elastic to reduce chafing and rubbing. Plus, when your girl sees this logo, she knows she's got a real Manscaped man. Oh, Manscaped, I love you guys. You can pair these boxer briefs with their pH-balancing liquid products like the Crop Preserver, and you're ready for anything. You can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code MORNING at manscaped.com. Your balls will thank you. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code MORNING at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code MORNING. From the moose to the caboose, always use the right tools for the job. Are they implying that like our pubic hair region is the moose?
Why did they say beluga?
I don't know. Do mooses say beluga?
You gotta wonder if other companies out there are like worried about their ads being too close to a Manscaped ad.
I mean, that's the thing. But here's the thing: we're going from places you want to get rid of hair to places that you want to keep your hair, because we love keeping our hair, and so does Keeps. As guys, so much of our identity is wrapped up in our hair, from how it feels after getting a fresh cut to the way it's perfectly styled before going out. That's why when we get into our 20s and 30s and start noticing the first signs of hair loss, it's definitely panic time. Because let's face it, no guy's ever ready to go bald. Thankfully, now there's Keeps, the simple way to keep your hair easily. 2 out of 3 guys will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35. And the best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still have hair left. Luckily, I seem to be the 3rd guy with Nick and Andy here at Internet Explorers, but they have been taking care of this for a while now. So they've been keeping their hair. Things have been looking good. And Andy, you've been looking fantastic. I want to let you know. Okay.
Wow. Thank you very, very much. Yeah. The finesse thread's kicking ass.
Mm-hmm. Keeps treatments typically takes between 4 to 6 months to see results, so it's important to act fast. The sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll save. You can go to our link at keeps.com/morning to receive your first month of treatment free. That's KEEPS.com/morning. Keeps.com/morning. Check it out.
Okay.
She's finally telling Ron Livingston about
the clocks and
stuff
shit
that's going on.
He's like, whatever, cool. Yeah, and that's basically how it goes. Everybody's like, it smells like shit in this house. I'm getting tugged at night. Mom's got a bunch of bruises. See ya. We're all going to school.
Yeah.
I'm
Clap,
running
clap,
in.
clap.
I'm going to work. They're all out, right?
Yeah.
And so they leave Carolyn and April, the smallest of the small girls, there to play or whatever. And this is when Carolyn walks over, right? And April's at her little like desk with her little thing, talking to who the ghost that'll be Rory or whatever. And she opens the door like, who are you talking to? Oh, my new friend Rory. Who's Rory? Oh, he's my new weird friend. You can only see him when you look into this fucking horrifying goddamn box I have that I'm not scared of, but everybody else should be, at least for the bugs that are living in it, sure, but no big deal.
What's the
Can I
mom's
ask-
issue,
can I-
though? Go for
Can I
it,
ask
Elise.
Nick,
Yeah.
you're not a horror guy. What's going through your head when there's this weird music box? There's a little kid that's talking to no one.
First off, your parent, your kid brings this home. You go, where'd you get that? And she goes, oh, out by the old tree where it looks like they used to hang witches. You go, put that you go back to that tree, put that thing back where you found it. That's A. B, the second she opens it up and this clown's head slowly starts bobbing up and down, you take it, you throw it out the window. But to James's point earlier, I think this is another one of those moments where you're not safe during the day, because remember, she first looks at this and it's kind of daylight outside, and they do such a great job of shooting it because it's very claustrophobic, and you just, whenever they force you to stay on that shot where you know something's going to pop up, it always builds that good tension. And of course the payoff is the kid scares her. You're
Also,
like,
the
this
mirror
kid-
does the thing where it like you never settle on anything, and
Right.
it's like what was it, the third Paranormal Activity, where the guy was like, I want to get a shot of the whole room.
Oh, that's fair.
I want to get a shot of the whole room. So it's I'm going to put a camera on an oscillating fan, which sounds like a good idea until you are a person watching it and it's just a camera going left and right across the room for 5 minutes or whatever, and then it becomes the most terrifying thing in the world.
The daytime is also just saturated too, so it's not like it's like
yeah.
you know, sunny and outside.
Yeah.
And the mirror's dirty
Very
and stuff too.
different.
But no, they do a lot of great techniques.
And
for
it's the
making
early
it scary.
70s, so it might as well have been hell on earth.
Everything's hairy.
Yeah.
See, here's my thing,
hairy.
Nick. I go a step further. It's like you definitely throw away the little Jack in the Box, but you throw this girl out too.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
just like I would, if
Baby
my
in the bathwater.
youngest was just like being that weird. It's like you got some problems.
She's
man.
not being that weird. She's got an imaginary friend.
Yeah,
Kids have
she's
imaginary-
But she
lonely.
saw him, didn't she?
No, she doesn't. She doesn't see her. Carolyn does not see Rory. Carolyn waits to see Rory, and then the little girl pops up and scares her. Then,
All right, the little girl sees Rory.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah.
but it's
I mean,
an
every kid
imaginary.
sees
It
their
feels like
imaginary
Rory's
friend.
fucking scary as hell.
No, but that's
yeah,
the whole
yeah.
thing. If they would have listened to Rory, everything would have been okay. Rory shows her where to hide. Rory shows
Yeah.
her how to survive Bathsheba possessing her mom. Rory's actually a benevolent
Rory's good.
spirit.
Yeah,
And that's
Rory's
honestly
good.
the thing too, is like this is very much like this. I understand it's in the 70s. This family would have benefited from watching The Sixth Sense, where they would have understand that most of the spirits in this house aren't there to hurt you. They're there because they got what does everybody say, right? She made me do it. It's not that they're ever the maid that runs at her with the or him with the cut up arms, the big old fat woman holding her kid down in the
nurse,
basement,
yeah.
right? She
Yeah.
made me do it. They're not there to hurt you. They're trying to warn you that Bathsheba can't be fucked with. You know what I mean? Get out of
Yeah.
there. And Rory in particular is like, here, come hide in this little hole.
Rory is
Which
like the
everybody immediately
ghost,
forgets.
the ghost equivalent of like Edward from Twilight. Rory looks like a child, but has the wisdom of a 80-year-old man.
Yeah.
Fair.
You know, so
Got it. You guys
Yeah,
want
must
to
yeah.
go.
be careful, child. Is how he would sound if he spoke in the film.
Rory stays a small boy, but his voice kept growing.
Yeah,
older.
his voice gets
Wow, yeah.
deeper.
Wow, that's crazy. You don't see that often in a ghost. So anyways, yeah, April jumps up, scares mom, and then she's like, hey, please play hide and clap with me. It's the game sweeping the household, and the older girls will never let me play with them. What do you say? And mom's like, okay. And then mom's also like, I wonder where I got all these bruises, and then proceeds to run into all sorts of fucking oak dressers and shit in there. Eventually, though, yeah, the claps lead her into the older girl's bedroom that has the weird wardrobe that will be where
Stinks.
Rory makes everybody hide. Stinks all the time. But P.U., you know what I mean? And so, yeah, the mom thinks she's figured it out, of course. Oh, she's hiding there in the wardrobe, gets close, hears the claps or whatever, and then gets over there and hears whispering, and then can't find her and takes off the blindfold, and then April runs in and is like, you were way off. I was in fucking girl 19's room down the hall. I'm like, fuck. But mom's like, wait a second. I definitely heard things in here. Am I going crazy? And like, no, you're not. Things are fucked up here. We jump back to the Warrens. This is where we get more of, I don't know about it, or Lorraine, something's wrong with you. And she's like, no, I can handle it. And they go investigate the people whose house wasn't really haunted. It just had a open window. Morons. You know what I mean? Go up in your attic sometime. Do some of your own ghost busting for a change. It doesn't always have to be like this.
They don't get paid by the hour. They get paid by the captured ghost. Okay?
Those are the rules.
From there, then, right, we've solved that case. We're back to the house. Remember, Ron Livingston, we think he's on his way to Florida. We don't, but it's a quick trip to Florida. We also know how much time has passed, right? So it's just the mom in the house. The girls have been put to bed, and then she hears something futzing about the house. And then she goes out there, right? And then she hears the clap first, right? She opens the door to the cellar, and she walks down there a little bit, and she hears the clap, and she hears a rustling or whatever. And
she sees someone. She's like, I know you're down there.
Yeah,
she's like, because there's like the chair, and I think the chair had like the blanket over it. She sees someone, and she's like, whoever's down here, I'm calling the cops or whatever.
Yeah, and she goes to leave, and the door slams in her face, hits her in the head. She rolls down the thing. She's all fucked up. Hears more. There's a clap down there. Doesn't matter. But then she goes up the stairs. Right, the lights blow out. And then she starts striking the matches, and this is where she strikes the third match. Right, she's like, it comes in fucking
so
dope
good.
Trailer. That's a trailer shot.
That is the
good.
trailer
But what an
shot.
iconic horror movie shot. Like, that is what's going to go down for these movies. Like, I don't even think it's going to be like Annabelle's like face or whatever. It is going to be the clap that people are talking about later.
Now, meanwhile, I think I skipped this earlier. The mid-youngest girl who was in Twilight as the little baby or whatever, she's fucking not the little baby in this one. She's mid-baby, and Murph is there. She's walking around. She's got sleepwalking disease, so they're putting her to bed left and right. And so this one night, it's the second time in the movie they've introduced the plot device. I missed the first one. Doesn't matter. She's in the older girl's room, walking into the fucking wardrobe again, over and over again. Again, Rory doing his due diligence here. Rory trying to show the kids where to hide when your mom goes cuckoo in the cuckoo verse. Andrea, the older girl, gets up. She walks over there. She's like, no, just you can stay with me tonight. Puts her to bed. Then like turns around to do something else, and the little girl sits up, and she's like, what's going on? What do you see? And she's like, and then with the camera pans up, and it's Bathsheba herself, like up there in a creepy ass old nightgown, disturbing, crazy hair, crazy face. She just fucking farting all over the place.
So stinky.
She jumps off that thing, gets on Andrea, and everybody's fucking screaming in the house. All the doors are shut and locked. It's bad news bears there, right? Because downstairs, Carolyn did the same thing, pounding on it. She can't get out. And luckily enough, Ron Livingston's back from his whirlwind trip to Florida to deliver tobacco or whatever. And he comes in. He the amount of times he in this movie goes from doing something then having to sprint, but not fully sprinting. Like when they found the dead dog, he actually, if you watch, he took time to dry his hands and then like tossed the towel. And here it's the same thing. He's like, he's got a little lunch pail and something else, and he hears like, oh, and he takes off and he runs in there, and they get Carolyn out, and she's like, oh God, and like, what's going on upstairs? Like, Andrea, and they run upstairs and they break that door open, and Andrea's just on the ground rolling around with nothing. They're like, what's happening? It's like, oh, this thing was on me. It's like, oh my God, what the fuck is going on? And so this is like the big breaking point, right? This is where it's like, hold on a second, shit's gone south here. And I'm right about this, right? I didn't skip the part with the girls, the leg tugging. That's still coming, right? With leg tugging, and then
I think we missed one
part
of the door
where she
slams.
sees her in the dark, right? Where she's sitting up in bed in the
doorway,
dark.
and then they're like, "What's in the
says,
doorway?"
Who's that behind the door?
Right there, and then the door slams.
Yeah, and then they break into the door, and there was somebody there. There's nothing there, honey. Okay,
yeah, that is a great that is a great moment.
Yeah, I don't want to miss it. I love that one. I mentioned it earlier in the show because I love it so much. From here, we jump back to another classroom where the Warrens are teaching. This time, it's the stages of paranormal investigation or infestation, right? Because it's infestation, oppression, possession, right? And they're going over this whole thing of like, it's this. Then they start, infestation. They're in your house, obviously. Oppression. They're making you question things. You don't know what's really, know what's fake anymore. They're fucking around with you. And then possession, when you're at your weakest, they come in and take over your body, and then they fucking do what they want.
And I know, Nick, you said earlier, like, they didn't need the Warrens going back to their classroom as much, which I agree. But I guess now, in terms of this device, it's them spelling this out so the audience can go, I've been seeing that.
Yeah, I
I've
get
been
it.
seeing that with the family.
I think they could have done that when they. I think they could have done that either at the beginning or then being
Sure.
like, "What's
Yeah.
been going on?" And then they sit them down and be like, "You have a poltergeist or whatever. Here are the 3 stages of grief. Deal with it."
Some of the decisions seem like active decisions to not be other movies, like it, because it's a movie, it's a trope film, right? Like it has all the haunted house and the
It's a
possession
poltergeist.
stuff. But I think the writers did seem to sit down and go, these things are what have to be in a horror movie like this, but let's find different places to put them so that way we're not doing what you're describing, which is probably the more efficient way, is sitting down and explaining it to the people it's actually happening to within context.
Sure.
They're like, let's explain it beforehand in a different scene so we don't have to do it then again later. Kind
Yeah, I mean, normally you would have that one character who's either new to the team or whatever, and he's the one. What the fuck's going on? Oh, this. What does that mean?
Yeah.
This, that. But it is nice when they get to the family. They're just like, he has like 5 questions. Is like, did they knock 3 times? Y'all got yourself a ghost.
Yeah.
Probably for that fucking kid playing over by that tree.
Yeah, this is where the movie picks up a clip, I think, honestly, in terms of especially our own synopsis.
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
It's the idea that, all right, cool, we've done all the pre-work. They give you the 3 stages, and in the audience is Carolyn, who at the end of it is walked over by one of the guys who will be one of the investigators with the Warrens. Hey, she wants to talk to you. Great. She starts explaining. They're like, listen, we're not going to, it could be anything. She's like, no, you need to come fucking help me. I have these kids over there. So the Warrens come over there, and I feel like this is where everything really gets fucking steamrolling in terms of a bunch of stuff happening all at once, right? They walk in the house. This is where, it's happening in 3s. Oh, it stops at dawn. It's the demon insulting the Holy Trinity. That's what they're doing there. They're testing you. The pictures that I didn't talk about getting bumped off the walls are piled up. They get tossed off the walls, so we have to put them here, kind of thing. We're going through all these things and having it explained of like what is going on and what they're seeing.
Honestly, when those pictures came off the walls, I just felt like that was the ghosts' like criticism of them not painting before they put those up.
Yeah.
Stand down these walls. I understand. Like you said, you have a workforce here. Put it to work.
They're
At least
peeling.
walls. This place is disgusting.
Exactly.
So yeah, like I said, it's that eventually, they do a whole interview here where they talk to everybody individually. Lorraine's walking around at one point helping her put stuff up. Maybe this is later actually, but she has that vision off the portrait of the beach, which is like this terrible photo of them at the beach. But it's like, oh yeah, it was a great day at the beach. We were driving back and we stopped taking this photo. And eventually when they get to the end, they keep doing the whole thing of like saying stuff. This is happening. And the Warren's like, oh, what does that mean? Well, it means this, such and such. Like, oh, okay, fuck, this is bad news bears.
All the photo stuff was like kind of like oh man, that's the best way you can come up with how to solve all this.
Yeah.
But whatever. I'll give it to them because I enjoyed the movie overall. But
they're getting all this information. They're doing the interviews. He does a little tape recorder bit with them. And where should I start? Oh, from the beginning, from the first occurrence. While that's going on, Lorraine's walking around. She's getting investigated. She walks out at one point, towards the lake in the tree or whatever. Ed follows her down. She's like, "So bad, it's here, Ed." And like he's like, "What?" And we see the feet behind Ed swinging there. From
So great.
Who hung herself, and then like he hugs her because she almost collapses, and then we go back inside the house and like, listen, it is bad here. She's like, what do you mean? Like, I saw it as soon as I came in. There's a presence that flashed itself onto you, and they show Carolyn there greeting them with the presence behind her. Then it was, I saw it in your girls. We see the girl shot again, but this time with the presence there. And then when I went down to the fucking tree, man, I saw some fucking lady hanging there. We see that. Like, oh, shit, fuck.
It was on your dog too, but
Breathless. It has been tortured by these ghosts. You need to stop it or whatever. So they're like, well, listen, you need a cleansing. You need the church. We're going to, help you do all this stuff. Okay, cool. It's not that easy to get an exorcism, though. It's an archaic process, a whole bunch of different approvals. We'll need to come in here and get hard evidence that this is the fact. Got it. Sounds great. They break. The Warrens go back to their house where Judy is there, who Nana's been taken care of. Nana and her went to the church flea market or whatever. They got matching lockets that have, Judy's photo in one for Lorraine and Ed in another for Judy herself. This seems like a terrible idea, right? But that's how they decided to do it. Why not? You know what I mean? Let's just put our kid out there on a silver platter for Bathsheba. They start, I think I'm going to throw it in here. I forget at what point this happens, but Lorraine also has a whole bunch of research on it. Like just went down to county records and got a whole bunch of good shit. And she's like, listen, the woman I saw hanging there, Bathsheba. witch. She was a witch. She was, descendant of the Salem witch trial people. She's bad news bears. And, when they tried to take her house or some shit, she ran out of the house and was like, no one will ever have my property. If you take it, you'll die. She killed herself. Like,
Buyer's remorse.
Crazy.
right? She killed her kid. She killed her kid, which we'll later find out was an affront to God. The way to really piss off Jesus and give him the old finger is to use your gift as a woman, which apparently is just to have a child, and then kill it, which Satan's like bonus points for me, and God's like, that was too far. But then, the property got broken up into a million things, and similar to what Tim was talking about, you got people drowning out there, you got ski-doo accidents, all sorts of shit's happening.
Ski-doo.
They are not living long if they took Bathsheba's land, as she said, when she was like, I'll kill myself. God, she did it, you know what I mean? This witch was crazy. Like, something, it turns out. You know what I mean?
Well, we've already established in this world how difficult it is to get your hands on property.
Yeah, I know.
So to think that they came for hers, I mean, I at that point related with the witch.
Yeah.
So,
God sort them out.
the Warrens come back and they got a whole ghost busting crew, which is that guy who introduced them, and then this cop dude who's the cop dude. You're like, okay, cool. And the cop dude does not believe, but he's there to observe and protect, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I like that he's skeptical, but not an outright asshole.
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah.
I like that. It feels like a more fully fledged character and real character than just being like, he's an asshole and he's going to, seemingly sabotage them because he's a skeptic. Feels more interesting than him just being a dick. But I do, like you said earlier, Greg, I love that they're like, we're assembling our little ghost team.
Yeah.
It's so great.
Greg, I don't know if you missed this or if it's about to happen, but I'm just going to talk about it here. I really love the scene of them playing back the recordings and it missing half of the conversation.
She's not in it. Yeah.
I love that moment because it's such a simple, it's video production trick. Like, we all know how that happened, but I was so invested in this world and story that when that happened, I was like, oh shit. And it's like, that's a good horror movie, is when they can, like, even when I can see through it, I'm like, damn, that'd be really scary to happen.
So
It
good.
would. So yeah, that happens at the same time. Lorraine's doing all her research here off county records. Ed is doing the listening to the thing. When they share all this information, the tape starts to play again, and now there's like hisses and kind of crap happening there when Caroline should be talking. They get the crew. They go to the house. They bring in all their ghost busting tech, which is, they got cameras that when it gets instantaneously cold, it'll take a photo. They got motion detecting cameras. They got a black light they're really excited about. They got the old stick mic they're going to walk around and listen to shit with. It's like, my God.
They also have just one with a string attached to the shutter, which is my favorite one. They're like, once the door gets this far, it'll pull the string. It causes the light. They're like, oh, is that the same technology as the one that gets cold? Like,
yeah, because the one that gets cold seems like it's a lot more farther into the future technology than just a good old fashioned.
This one's how you get rid of a baby tooth.
Yeah, I do. I do love their sort of commitment to the tech of the day. That everything has to be like plugged into a giant battery pack. And so like when he goes to get the UV lights, give me the UV light. First off, the other guy's like, "What's a UV light?" Because he has no idea. And then when the other guy gives it to him, it's like that giant stick, but then it's tethered to one of those big old. If you guys never probably shot stuff back in the day on like real cameras, but they used to think, hey, you just have to have these giant battery belts to power them. And I think it's so cool they have those. They have to lug all this shit around. And it is oddly reminiscent of like Ghostbusters, where, Greg, they could have very easily made the neutrino wand and the proton pack like tiny, but they chose to make them big in these cumbersome things because it adds to the scene. I think they did very well here.
Agreed. And so, yeah, they're setting this up. Ed's setting up the crosses all over the house. Being like, this really fucking pisses him off. I'm trying to piss him off. I want to see some stuff. We got to get this on film. We got to do this stuff. Then there's a bunch of fake scares. The cop goes to the bathroom, right? And the door creaks open. And everybody's like, oh, is this going to be him? It was just him.
And the tech guy, Drew, he's trying to mack on the eldest daughter.
Yeah, right.
I get it.
The age demographic there, I wasn't sure about.
It was weird.
18, 19. I mean, all these, they're all fucking old. They should have gotten out of the house a long time ago, including the kid that found the tree. Get her out, put her to work.
They kind of do some research when they take the wand microphone downstairs and film and record it down there, asking a bunch of questions, trying to get it to do something. They don't get any real hard results down there the way they wanted, but when they come upstairs, more stuff happens. Right? What happens? The door moves. I think.
I'm pretty sure they go downstairs because I really like that basement because it's through the point of view of the cop filming with the camera.
Yeah.
And then and the audio is through the point of view of the boom mic. So those are the two things you have. So like when it's pointed away from Ed, he's like really quiet. So like
that's
like
so good.
It's diegetic, which is
Yeah.
a really
it's
cool
really
sequence.
cool.
And then they're like going up the stairs, and then you hear like the most like as though there was something happening off of the side of a boom mic.
Oh, and
like
that dissonance of like you're seeing is different from what you're hearing.
Yeah.
is
Totally.
so good too.
and they're like, did we hear something? Like, and then they think that like something happened, right?
It reminds me a little bit of like Blair Witch, where the camera was always there, but you'd hear people like that were right here, then they walk away, and it makes you feel so much more alone in those moments
Yeah,
because
for sure.
you're losing one of your senses somehow.
Yeah.
And also,
Now here's where we. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
So now here's where we go from. They've cranked it up, but we don't have a really great night for them in terms of ghost hunting. Not a lot of major shit happening, right? So we settle into everybody being happy, right? We have this next morning. Ron Livingston's there making pancakes. He's having a great time.
The truck driver.
He's a truck driver. He's a generic white guy. He's making all this food. The girls are all happy. Everybody's bullshitting around together, having coffee. And he's like, hey, maybe I'll take all the girls out for ice cream today. And they're like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Watto, that does sound like a good idea.
And eventually Ed shows up, and Ron's like, yeah, man, it's great having you around. The girls are really, feel comfortable and like safe when you're here. And he's like, yeah, great. And we're back to the thing of like everything's gonna be a-okay. And so the girls, they all go out for ice cream with Dad. Carolyn's like, I'm gonna take a nap because life is a living hell, and I have this fucking iron deficiency as she's covered in spots.
Yeah.
And Lorraine and Ed are like, we got everything. We'll take care of this place.
Well,
Ed is totally going with this car.
Well, Lorraine is like, I'll do your laundry. Like they're like weirdly distributing all the chores of the house because the girls don't do anything.
Yeah, again, work for it. It was a little weird where he's like, I know exactly where to start. That 57 Chevy. And then when the dad comes home, he's like, hey man, thanks for everything you're doing, including rebuilding or buying a rebuilt engine for my car.
Hey,
where he
what
has
can
that
I
one
say?
line where he's like, I found a really good deal on a rebuild. And I was like,
carburetor,
a rebuilt it was a carburetor. Is that what it was? I was like, but even that, I'm like, that's like, it's got to be like $50 to $100 for a rebuilt
Well,
carburetor.
when you get the
right?
bill from the Warrens, it's all factored in. It's item. You get the itemized business. It's gonna have it all in there. So they try and do as much as they can.
Now, Ed, I don't remember asking you to rebuild this carburetor for me. No, we did. We talked about
Just
that. And
part of
it's
the
gonna
full service package.
Yeah.
Everything seems great. Ed and Lorraine are over at the laundry, and he's like, this is just great. We could live like this and have a quiet day, and blah, 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 blah. And she's like, yeah, haha. And he walks away, and then this is when she's like, looks up, and it turns into fucking dark storm clouds up there. It's like, oh, fuck. This is the segment we were talking about earlier, where the sheet blows off, finds a body, blows up to the window, blows away. Bathsheba's there. She walks away. What do you got for me, Nick?
I was going to say it's interesting because, again, if they wanted to make this a little bit more classic Hollywood, like they would have taken the liberty of having their daughter have died or something like that, right? And that's why, because it's weird to me that they're like ingratiating themselves in this family. And at first I was like, did I miss it? Did they lose a family member? And that's why Vera Farmiga is like so into taking care of these young girls. But no, it just sounds like they just don't like their kid and they want to spend more time with these kids.
Sure.
And that's just how it is.
So, the thing blows away. It's Bathsheba up there. Everybody's like, oh my God. What? And Lorraine's like, fucking no. So she runs up there, right? And we get the cutaway to what's happening up there. And like Carolyn opens her eyes and Bathsheba's on top of her. And she's like, oh, and then blah, and just fucking blood all into fucking Carolyn's mouth. Like, Bathsheba, no, let's go. You have any other way to possess people. Possess them that way. And then all hell breaks loose. Lorraine runs up there and the door to the bedroom's locked. And she's like banging, like, let me in. And then she runs around to the other side of the bathroom and Caroline just opens the door. She's like, hello. Like, I'm fine. Don't worry.
She's like, yeah.
I hear
She's like, I had some bad salsa or whatever. Like,
You
shouldn't have trusted that roadside salsa. They go back out, right? And the girls and Ron are back. And it's like, it's weird. Okay, I don't know what's going on here. What the fuck just happened, right? I guess it was before this. Well, whenever he worked on the car, like I already said, that's when he explained to Ron the thing about Lorraine and that we got the whole thing of like it took the power out of her, yada, yada, yada. We covered it. I don't need to worry about it anymore. From there, shit. Hold on, I can look at the Amazon here. I haven't had to use it as much as I thought I was going to have to. And I haven't
doing
done
good.
I'm impressed.
is this when they get pictures of the girl getting possessed? Or did that happen? Because the little girl walks up the
Yeah,
stairs
you're right,
and they like
right,
take 1,000 pictures of her, right?
So do we go from it being daytime to that scene right away, or does something happen in between there? But I'm with you that that is the next beat here.
Yeah.
Whatever. However, we get from Caroline and welcoming home the ice cream family to fucking that happening. That's what happens. So they're. Oh, that's right. Yeah, they jump cut. Remember to. Oh, we almost missed a great one. We jump. So it goes from there to. It's the cop and the other guy, and the cop's like,
True,
do
yeah.
you want some? And he's like, no. And so the cop goes back to get more coffee, establishing that it's super late at night. He hears something outside, right? He walks outside, or he sees the rocking chair rocking. Walks outside, doesn't see anything. Then he walks back in, and then in the corner of his eye in the laundry room, he sees the maid walk through.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
A maid who he doesn't know. And he walks in there, and he hears, she made me do it. And he's like, what the fuck was it? And he's like, looking around, hello. And he's like, I don't see anything. He turns around, and then she runs at him. She made me do it! Showing him the fucking cuts. He's like, Jesus fucking Christ. He falls down, and things. Everybody runs in. He's like, there's a person here. Oh, yeah. They all pop up, and that's when they turn around and they see the girl.
Mhm.
Cindy. I'm just using this interchange. Yeah, it's Cindy, maybe, whatever. One of the interchangeable girls. And she's there sleepwalking. She's like, oh, she sleepwalking. Don't worry about it. And she starts walking, and then the cameras start going off. And they're like, I'm going to stop her. And she's like, no, don't. Like, she wouldn't set off the cameras. It's an instantaneous thing. There's a spirit presence with her. Yeah, Nick.
I know. I love that. Like, what the fuck is your kid doing? Oh, don't worry about that. She just sleepwalks constantly. Oh, okay,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
We'll let that one pass.
Yeah.
I guess that's totally fine.
It's very clearly of like the parents like, we're gonna stop her, and they're like, no, let's get this. We need to get this
Yeah.
footage. Fucking hope.
This is good coverage.
Mhm.
Yeah, we gotta get this or whatever. And so the bulbs go off, and then they let it go all the way into the room, and then you hear the door slam, and that's when like, stop! And they run up there, whichever interchangeable girl you are. They run up there and they're like pounding and they can't get in. Like, break out that door! Oh my God! Everybody screaming. They eventually bust into the room. All the windows are sealed. She's not under the bed. She's nowhere. Nobody thinks about the wardrobe. Nowhere. And then he turns to the cop and he's like, go get the UV light. He's like, the one. He's like, the fucking guy downstairs will know. Give me the UV light. You were hitting on the girl with it. Thank you. They run upstairs. And they do the whole thing, and they find the fucking footsteps, and they find the hands all over the wall. And like Ed is smart, and he pushes it in, pulls it aside, and then they find Cindy. We're gonna say over there in the hole, and he's like, "I found her." They're like, "Yay, we found her! She was in the thing where the ghost was telling her to go and be safe." You know what I mean? Like, do any of these kids talk to each other, and do we listen to the children that are communicating with the ghosts? That's all we need to do. Just believe them as we've seen this shit. They like, I got her. Great. They bring her out. Hip hip hooray! They've got it right. Now, again, the fucking younger girl is there talking to Lorraine, and she's like, oh, that's where Rory hides. Like, Rory hides in there, and that's where he's always trying to get me to hide. And she's like, she walks in there, she's like, oh, okay. And then she turns around, there's all this old shit here. And she sees the diamond, the base, basically, of the music box. She's like, can somebody get me the fucking weird music box? I'm like, here's the weird music box. Thank you. She puts it in, like, oh, perfect. This is all Rory shit. And then she finds a big old rope, and she starts pulling that shit up. And guess what? It's a noose. And this,
What an image.
This spooks her, but not as much as falling through the fucking floor like she does spooks her. She falls through the floor, just tumbles through the fucking house, all the way down.
This house is 87 stories high.
Yeah.
It's made of paper mache.
And
So she crashes out into the basement. Ed, of course, flipping out. He's like, Lorraine! But he's only going down like one floor at a time. Like, Lorraine! He's just pounding up the wall. Guys, let's follow this through the logical course of where you would end up. And it doesn't matter.
Also, Greg, if I ever fall down like this much, just come in after me. Just go down the trash chute after me. Like, oh, I know where he is. I'll just follow his footsteps.
I wouldn't fall down because then I'd crush you when I came out. I'd come down on top.
No, I'd roll. I know
It's a
roll.
landing pad.
You got knocked out.
Everyone knows anytime Nick hits the ground, he rolls.
Pan-
You can drop him from any height. He's going to hit it and roll like parkour.
So yeah, then down on the ground floor, right? Lorraine's down there and immediately knows she's not alone. Like she can feel it. She got that touch, as they say. She opens up the little thing and she looks into the music box and she hears she made me do it. And it's the big lady with a dead kid, right? And she made me do it. And then she puts it away and looks over there and it's not behind her anymore. But she's right here. But again, she's scary because she's a ghost, obviously, and she's a tortured soul. But she's not doing anything particularly serious. She's like, she just made me do it, right, kind of thing. And so then it's like, boom, you see Bathsheba's feet come hanging again. She's hanging there. And it's like, oh no. And then she starts like turning, like she's like flying, like turning, and like, oh, she knows Lorraine's there. So Lorraine gets up, she runs away, she runs up there. And it's like, oh my God, it's Bathsheba. And she made me do it. And it's this thing where she puts it together. She's like, they possess the mother, right? Yeah, she runs right into Caroline. She's like, they possess the mother. This is what she's doing. She's exacting her revenge by possessing the mother and having her kill the kids. And they're like, oh my God. And so then something gets thrown, maybe a table, but it doesn't matter. And shit's moving. Oh, it's all the crosses fall down. And then all the girls are standing there, and they turn to Cindy 1 turns into Cindy 2, and she's like, your hair, and it's starting to go up. And she's like, what? She starts getting dragged around the fucking room. It's fucking dope. I remember being in the theater and be like, this is cool. Like, this is obviously can be totally hokey and stupid, but also a nice escalation of like the ghost just being like, I don't give a fuck anymore. I'm gonna just do it in front of you.
Cat's out of the bag. It's great.
Do they cut the hair, or do they cut the connection between
They
the
cut
ghost
the
and
hair.
Okay, so they did cut the hair.
Have spiritual scissors with them on this.
I do like how he's
you'd
like.
think we'd get used to the face paint, but I don't know about you guys, but I'm not.
No.
It's still
Worse.
getting me.
Sorry.
Continue. No, you're good.
Cut the hair. She's free of it. They all jump on her like a bunch of idiots. Nobody can grab her. You know what I mean? You want to talk about trying to catch a greased up pig? That's Cindy number 2 with the hair job going on. So they cut her hair, and everybody's like, "That's it. Fuck it. We're going out of here." And Ed and Lorraine are like, "We have to have enough information for the church to believe us now, right? We got to do this. We're gonna get this thing. We got to go." The parents, they go to a hotel. Ed and Lorraine, hold on. No, not yet. What? Not. I was gonna say they go to the priest, but that's not yet, right? Or did they already go to the priest?
I think they already went to the priest. The priest was like, I don't know, man. I know these people seem cool, but they're not Catholic and they're not Christian.
They show the priest the photos, right? That they got from the sleepwalking girl. And they're like, look, there's a little boy in the photo, right?
Right there. You're right.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much, James. I'm glad to have you on this. Usually I work with a bunch of morons. I won't name names. So, yeah, that's how that happens. The priest is already trying to push it through. The parents are like, we're getting the fuck out of here.
We're going to drive separately.
Yeah, we're gonna get the hell out of here. We're going to do the thing. Great. Ed and Lorraine are like, yeah, this is fucked up, and we got to get out of here too. Oh, I forgot when Lorraine was getting home, by the way, her necklace with Judy's picture, and it got stuck down there too, and was like constantly hanging because gravity is that dimension, as we learned in Interstellar. She had the vision here earlier that was the warning that it was Judy in the water, and that was the warning. And then after this, though, that is the vision. She calls home, but nothing had happened yet when she calls home. But then we're going to toss it in here. That's when they go home. So the vision had happened. It was a warning from Bathsheba, like, stop fucking with me. Get out of here, all right? I don't need no Ghostbusters here. Don't take my land. I made the rules very clear. And they're like, we don't listen to your rules. So then it is that everybody runs their different things. And the Warrens are going to go home too. And this is when Judy wakes up. And she gets the old foot tug. And I don't think she gets the fart smell, but she gets the old foot tug, right? And she wakes up, and then she's like, what's going on, Nana? And Nana's she's just drunk as shit. And she's donezo, you know what I mean? Had a quaalude, as Nick would say.
Couple ludes.
Walking through the house, right? She's walking through the house, and she's like, Mommy, Daddy, are you home? And then, like, fucking the goddamn containment unit's open. She walks in there. Annabelle ain't in the fucking cage. She's like, uh-oh. She walks out of there. She walks into Daddy's office, and Bathsheba is there in the rocking chair, rocking back and forth, combing Annabelle's hair. And Annabelle's little creepy fucking head turns and looks. It's like, this is why we needed the 30 minutes of Annabelle storytelling. Because now we got the two worst demons in the world teamed up.
Team it up, man. You love to see it.
I'll say this, the scariest part of this whole movie, and James, I know you'll probably echo this, is that when Patrick Wilson gets home and he runs through all of his rooms, and every single one of his room is wallpapered, and it's the worst wallpaper you've ever seen in your life.
It's nightmare.
I don't know about you guys. I was like, that's shocking.
They're like, what about carpet that looks like grass? That should just be in the house. That should
Do
be
you
in the house.
think that Bathsheba was getting Annabelle so she could form a team of villains called the Suicide Squad?
There we go. There we go.
I like it.
I'd like to think that's the same way
That's her whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Fast and Furious built to the Hobbits and Shaw stuff. This could have been the next buddy cop we needed, the next buddy team.
It sounded like you said Hobbits and Shaw.
Yep.
It's Aquaman.
Aquaman is up to it too. They while this plan of action is happening, right? Like they come back, the Warrens come back. Because Judy got locked in the room, was banging on it. They break down the door. She's okay. Oh my God, though, the ghosts are out. They're out to get us or whatever. At the same time, they get the phone call. Then Patrick Wilson answers it, and it's Ron Livingston. He's like, I don't know what happened. Caroline grabbed one of the two Cindys, maybe two of the. She got two of the Cindys. And not gonna fucking call it two little Cindys.
Got two of the Cindys.
They went back to the house, and then he's like, oh man, she's fucking.
Well, then, where were you? He's like, I'm a truck driver.
That happened, so I had to take on it. So there, and Ed's like, listen, get the fuck over there. I'm going to meet you the fuck over there. I'm going to call everybody. It's a good thing we all live within 10 minutes of each other, even though nothing of this sort of been established. All right, great. So they all run back there. And they all run back into the house, right? And yeah, they come in. There's already a fight brewing. Ron had already beaten them there, and a couple of the Ghostbusters, maybe, I think. And they've already got Caroline. She's got the scissors, and she's trying to do stuff. They get the scissors out of her hands in the basement, right? One of the kids is hiding.
The cop gives them a police escort. So the cop arrives with Ed and Lorraine. So yeah.
They get downstairs. That's what they find. That's all well and good. They get the kids away. April, little Cindy, little Cindy. She runs and hides. Then the fucking Caroline's super possessed. She bites the cop. They're like, fucking hell, put a fucking bag over her head. And they're trying to tie her down with random shit they're finding. They tie her to a chair. That's great. She's there. They're screaming at her. The other guy from the thing that isn't the cop, but it's the other guy who understood the UV light and was macking on a girl. Drew. He's running around now trying to fucking find Cindy number one. He's fucking ready to tear the whole goddamn house apart. Downstairs, Ed's like, I gotta do it myself. I gotta fucking do this exorcist. And they're like, fuck, or Lorraine's like, fuck, dude, you don't know how to do exorcist. He's like, do you have a better idea? Like, clearly something's gotta give here. And it's either gonna, they tried to drag her out at one point too, and she started burning all. Like,
oh, right. Yeah.
I know. I love how they're like, you
she
can't
can't
do
leave
this.
the
You're not
house.
trained. And it's only like half a paragraph of information that he had to memorize. He's like, I got this, guys. Don't worry.
Wizarding isn't just saying the words, Nick. Come on. It's
you should
how
know this
you
more
do the
than anyone.
wand. It's believing. It's the
true.
magic.
Aloha Mora.
you got fucking, there's a whole bunch of pigeons smashing into the house during this. You got the Caroline turns upside down and goes up there, and then they drop her, and the chair explodes, but they hold her down. But then before that even happened, they were like, oh, they hit her with the holy water, and it's fucking really loud screaming. It's fucking great. This entire shit's awesome. And like the makeup they did here, I'm pretty sure they won every Academy Award for it. Just fucking great makeup. And then they're like, Bathsheba, reveal yourself. And the thing splits open and it's Bathsheba's face. You're like, oh my God, fuck, that's great. You know what I mean? And so like that's happening, and like everybody's freaking out. And then eventually, even after they had been separated from the chair and they pinned her down, Bathsheba starts like laughing in their face kind of thing. Like, yeah, I'm just fucking toying with you. Like, you goddamn ghosts. I can't stand any of you. You know what I mean? And then dumbass Brad upstairs, right? Or no, not Brad. Dumbass Drew. Brad. Hey, I found the girl who hit herself really well. She's underneath the kitchen. And Bathsheba's like,
she's hiding right here.
So Bathsheba just fucking rolls to her belly and does the old army crawl.
Snake.
And she goes into the fucking walls like a snake, yeah. And so obviously it doesn't take a genius to figure out where she's going, right? Like we already know where this girl is hiding, or Rory told you to hide, but nobody's smart enough to figure that out. So they're all lost in the house and the trees and whatnot. So they find her, and then Bathsheba's on her way there, and she gets there, and Ed gets there, and Lorraine gets there from another part, and then Ron Livingston's coming through the kitchen fucking floor, and he puts his hand on her head, and they're screaming at her to fight it, and she's weak, and this, that, and the other, and it's all like, all hell's breaking loose. And then, like, right as she's about to kill him, Patrick Wilson's head through the hole in the wall. He's like, Bathsheba, I command you to hell. And Bathsheba's like, fucking awesome. Like, it's ridiculous. It's totally fucking, it's the whole time, too. Then you've got fucking Office Space guy's head through a hole in the goddamn ceiling, which is the kitchen floor.
I think that Lorraine reaches through the kitchen and then gets Bathsheba on her head, right?
I thought
and then she's like, remember your family. Isn't that what's
she shows her the picture.
She takes the pain of it or whatever, right? And she's like reaching through the
and then Ron Livingston's like, I've got to go.
He's
the
like,
car's running.
He's like, I'm a truck driver.
Gas doesn't buy itself. It's diesel.
And so that's pretty much that. The light of God or whatever shines through. Caroline comes back to being Caroline. They get to walk out of the house, and when they do, all her bruises go away. She apologizes to her children, of course, for trying to kill them and putting them through all the horrible shit. For the Warrens, the church approves it at the last second, like in the final shots or whatever. Like, the church approved the exorcism. Like, just in time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, a fun fact there, actually, at the end of the movie, Lorraine Warren gets off the phone and tells Ed Warren that the priest wants to discuss a case on Long Island. That case is the Amityville case.
Yeah.
Fun stuff.
And so, then we shut we put the music box in the thing, and then we shut the door and we walk away, and that's Conjuring 1.
We get the credits.
Get paid. They always get paid.
Get the credits with the real pictures of the families and stuff, and it's
Yeah.
like,
Great.
y'all
I love that.
motherfuckers, this was real to an extent.
And then the post-credits scene of the dog being actually alive again.
It's like, thank God they added that part. Thank God.
Yeah, that's just my copy that I tweeted.
That's the super bit version.
So obviously we have all the bits to do here of haiku and review, but since we're pre-recording this, we don't have any for this first episode, but get your haiku reviews ready for The Conjuring 2, all the rest of them, Annabelle, all that. Next week we are doing Annabelle. We all have Conjuring 1 as our number one right now, obviously, because it's the only one we've done so far. But Greg,
the balls in the mail. Gonna hit him with a hell last time. Gonna have to ban it. Gonna have to ban it. Haikus are hard to find. Haiku in review.
Yes.
Haiku in review.
All right, Elise, you're going to need to work on that for next week. Just a little bit.
I mean, I did 6 episodes.
Hey,
of this
you're
show,
right.
Nick.
You're right.
Tim, I think
Haikus
I
are
was pretty. I think I remember how the song goes.
haikus are hard to find. Okay, I get it.
Difficult.
But Greg, to end the
Greg
show,
hates it. Greg hates it.
we got to do the one bit just to get it on the board of what we're naming it. So hit me with some of that ragu bagu.
Da 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 da.
Ragu.
Da 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 da.
Bagu.
That's what you call a cliffhanger. We'll talk about this next week when we have more entrants to argue about.
Until next time,
Stay spooky.
thank you.